So, welcome to the 30-Second Success Podcast, where clarity, courage, and connection come to life through the decisions that define us. I'm your host, Laura Templeton, and today we're diving into the bold, messy, and meaningful moments that help us move forward in business and in life. And I'm excited to have Clara Capano with me here today. She is the gal who loves to talk about Clara T. So, Clara, I'm going to ask you to share your 30-second message with you. I know, and I love the fact that you have your podcast. So give a little bit about you, your work, and we'll go from there.
Perfect. Well, Laura, thank you so much for having me here. So, you know how most people dread Mondays? They dread going into work and going into the grind. Well, I help them learn to love Mondays, to love going into their work with a fresh set of eyes, fresh inspiration, and clarity. So, I am a speaker, trainer, facilitator, and a chief fractional productivity officer. And basically, what I do is I help companies build high performing and healthier organizations.
Oh, I love that. I love that you work on the development of your people. I think that's so beautiful because I think that's one of the most important areas where companies can build their from a place of strength
It's
when we
everything.
invest in our people.
Yeah,
So
if
thank
you want to
you.
build the bottom line, you do that by building your people first. And that's really where everything is. And having those cultures that, really have that solid foundation, it changes the game for everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what's something people are often surprised to learn about you?
They're surprised to learn how short I am because most people see me on video and I'm only 5 feet tall and they meet me and they're like, how does so much energy fit into that little tiny body? And so doing that. But I think, I think it's same thing with everyone. Everybody sees the highlight reel and they think that you just showed up one day magically with this successful business and career. And, they're surprised to hear all the bumps and bruises that I went through along the way to get here.
Bumps and bruises happen, don't they? Right.
They sure
So
do.
I know. So speaking of that, take us back to a 30-second decision that changed everything for you and what happened in that moment and then what came next.
The 30-second decision that changed everything was quitting my job. I was managing in a large real estate firm and I knew it just was not my happy place. I had gone there, I had, went on the journey and it was great. It was an amazing career, great paycheck, wonderful people, but it just wasn't aligning with who I was. I went through a big shift in understanding what success meant for me, moving from thinking it was all about the paycheck, the titles, the fancy cars, to having something more legacy driven and having those nights where I would look in the mirror and not feel proud of the work that I was doing, not feeling proud of the person I had become. And so making the decision to quit the safety of the corporate world and to venture forward into more of a consulting and being able to work in a way that was going to be very intentional as far as leading others to their greatness and being able to really align my priorities, which at the time I was a single mom, and really making sure that I had the space and the flexibility to be an amazing mom for my son and also chase after my dreams and do it all on my terms. That was the clarity that I needed to be able to go forward.
My gosh, there's so much to unpack in just there, Clara.
Yes.
Clara, it is amazing and how we learn from the life lessons, right? So I one of the things I would love for you to dive into a little bit, and it was really evident to me is number one, you mentioned legacy. So how do you use what you learned and all the lessons and all that angst and the things that you struggle with now to help the people that you serve?
It all goes back to you've got to know your why. What are you working towards? And your why is going to change over your years. When in my 20s, it was more about money and doing those things. There were some times where it was more survival zone. And now I'm in a place of, again, making global impact. And the success that I want to have isn't for me, it's not about, oh, Clara did this, seen my names in lights. It's about the ripple effect. And I like to think of impact as a ripple. If I can impact your life, well, that's going to impact the ones that are around you, and so forth and so forth. And I just see, especially right now in this world, I see a lot of division coming on, and I see a lot of people becoming, I'm just going to say, less human. And I really want to bring us back to humanity and
Hmm.
understanding that with technology, with all of these things, they are wonderful things to enhance, but not replace what we're doing. So just being able to, again, sit back at the end of the day and know I made a difference. So for me, I ask myself three questions at the end of each day. I ask myself, did I show love? Did I inspire? And did I impact the world positively today? That's how I define success for me. And that's what really drives me. So getting clear on at the end of the day, when it was all said and done, what was going to matter most? What were those messages? What was going to allow me to sleep with a clear conscience? And feel good about the work that I did. I'm never going to get it all done. I'm never going to achieve it all, and that's okay. I want to do work that I'm proud of. I want to be able to look at myself at the end of the day and again feel proud of the human that I was that day.
I love that. I love that you're talking about the end of the day. So all too often we're talking about the morning routine, right? And setting ourselves up for the day well in the beginning. But a lot of people don't talk about how important it is to bookend your day, right?
That
Our
is
routine in
exactly
the
what it is.
morning sets us up for more success throughout the day so that at the end of the day, we can look back and go, okay, here's where I made a difference. Here's the impact that I'm having. What do I need to do to keep moving forward and have this same kind of effect on my future as well as the future of others? And
Absolutely.
I love that you have those three questions that you ask yourself each and every day. That's beautiful. One of the things that I love working with my clients is having a gratitude journal
Hmm.
and writing those questions out and answering them repeatedly. And over time, some of those questions, you're absolutely right, do shift
Yeah.
because it's your why that drives your intention. And I
And it
think
helps
that's
you,
so
it becomes your
powerful.
compass. I mean, not to cut you
Yes.
off, I apologize, but it becomes your compass and you start to use it in every decision you make. So as a speaker, being on the road, when an offer comes in, it's easy to say, "Oh, I'll take it. It's a paycheck. I'll take it." But when you know your why, you then line
Right.
it up. It's the checks and balances. Is this going to move me towards who I want to become? Is this moving me towards my vision? And we only make decisions that are in alignment with our vision. But if you don't know the why, it's hard to determine what you're going to do.
I love that. And talk a little bit about the why and the importance of those decisions that we make that are based on that why. How how can we utilize the why to then drive those decisions that are necessary to help us move forward?
Absolutely. So someone asked me one time, they said, what do you think is more important, your motivation or your discipline? And even though I believe that both are needed, for me, the motivation is stronger because I will do the disciplines when I know why I am doing the work that I'm doing. So for me, it's that rocket fuel in my belly. I don't want to sit down and make calls. Nobody really wants to make calls. But when I know why I need to do them, they're not a call. It's not a sales call. It's a connection call. I know I have the ability to impact their lives or the lives of the people they work with on a positive way. Why would I not want to reach out to them? I have something to help them. Why would I not want to? So by knowing the why behind it, it makes me more excited to push through the mediocre activities of the day. So I think
Mm,
again it becomes that lightning inside of you that drives you or inspires you rather to take the actions that you need. And again, by really using it as a checks and balance, you talk a lot about time. I love talking about time. Time is an investment. If you don't know your why, how do you know where you're investing your time? And that's the problem. It's not really a time issue, it's a priorities issue. And when you
mm,
don't know your why, you don't know your priorities, and then you are spending your time, but not investing your time. Because every minute, every hour that you invest, always should come back to, is this helping me create the vision, the legacy, the business, the life that I want to create?
mm. I love that, and I love that you expressed how important it is for you to invest your time, but invest your time in others as well. And I want to share with our listeners. the fact that you and I met in a very interesting circumstances. We met through Success Champions Network, and
Yep.
you had offered to give me some advice on speaking and getting speaking gigs. And we had a call, and you were so sick. You were still recovering from being really, really sick. And I remember being on that call, and you said, well, I just booked like $60,000 worth of keynote talks for next year. You were filling your calendar for next year. And you were so intentional about, I know I don't feel good, but I still need to do this. And here's my why, because my calendar needs to be filled in order for me to be able to serve my greater audience. And that always stuck with me. I'm like, man, I love this lady. She's like laying on the couch. She's booking keynotes and she's getting it done. And you also took the time to give me some advice on how to fill my calendar. And I always appreciated that. And I
Oh,
thought that was
so glad.
such a beautiful testimony to that heart of service and how you love on people. And I think that's really important for people to know about you and your desire to make things better for everyone. And
Well,
I
thank you.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm thank you for sharing that story. And I want to open the doors for others because that's what happened to me. And I just had this, I just saw so much, as I was growing my business, we all need help. And I would reach out to so many people and I'd be like, hey, can you just look at this? Can I just pick your brain? And almost always the response I received was, oh, you know what? I have a coaching program. If you just go and sign up for my coaching program, and I'm like, can't you just give me 10 minutes? And I made a vow that if I could help somebody, I was going to. There's enough out there. Even though there's other speakers, there's other coaches, no one's me, no one's you. And you know what? There's enough for all of us. And again, it's not that I'm going to give away all of my stuff, but if I can help someone, why would I not want to? We've got to remember
Mhm.
that that's part of the humanity that I was talking about.
Love that. So, quick reminder, if you're enjoying this podcast episode, please take a moment to like, follow, and subscribe. Your support helps us reach more people with stories and strategies that inspire real connection. So, Clara, what's a challenge you've overcome that most people don't see from the outside?
You know, it's not that they don't see it, but they don't see the reality of it. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about burnout because I think we see it, but we don't really see it. After my son was born, I had postpartum, but I didn't know it because I couldn't allow myself to say that I had it because that would mean that I was weak and there was something wrong with me. So I just powered through it. And needless to say, it did not get better. It got worse. So went through a divorce and all these things. And, it was really ugly, just trying to put the band-aids on it, numbing myself with things that were not good, very unhealthy lifestyle. Um, Again, angry, just being completely disconnected and thinking that I had it all together when it was unraveling. And I think that, I had to learn that I had to be honest with myself of saying, this isn't working. Spinning the plates and trying to keep them all in motion. It wasn't serving me. It wasn't serving my clients. It certainly was not serving my son. And taking that moment of sheer honesty to be like, I am so far away from who I want to be. And everything that I'm working towards, it's all fake. I'm barely hanging on by a thread. And so I think the lesson that I had to learn through it is that, you know, vulnerability, asking for help, showing the truth is not a sign of weakness. And we're all going through it. And that's what actually led me to not only take the steps that I needed to, but that became the topic of my third book. And it really put me on a quest to just share, especially with women in business, that we need to be open, we need to share our stories because there is strength in it. And so now I'm very purposeful in what I do. That doesn't mean that I'm not a hot mess from time to time, and I own it, and I'm like, I'm not perfect, and you know what, I'm gonna mess up. I take that in because I'm like, as long as I'm learning, I'm going forward. And I think that that has made me so much stronger. It's made me better. I was looking at some reviews from a talk that I did last week, And so many of the comments were very authentic, very relatable, shares real stories. That's what I want to be. I don't want to just be a cheerleader. I don't want to be out there just giving the motivation and being like, go get him, hang in there. It's like, no, let's talk about how hard it is. Let's talk about the real journey to success, what it's really going to take, because we need to know these things. And let's have fun along the way. But I think it just really taught me the importance of truth and
Mm.
being authentic and honest in what we're doing.
Beautiful. I love that. And it is so important to really share what you're feeling
Hmm.
and and even from the stories of what you've overcome. And that because we're all a work in progress. And when we can be real about it, we're helping others that are maybe going through the same thing.
Hmm.
So I love that. So what helps you stay grounded when things feel uncertain or overwhelming?
So, a couple things. One, we talked about the why. So, I think really staying connected with my why. And then doing the morning and the afternoon routine. I bookend my days too. And I love that you use that term because I do the same thing. I start my days with a solid morning routine. Now, mine is a little longer than most people's. Mine is about 90 minutes because I do incorporate exercise in with it. But it's gratitudes, mindset work, just kind of getting myself ready for the day. And then at the end of the day, not only do I run through the three questions, but I also focus on what are three great things that happened today. So I'm doing that gratitude in the morning and in the afternoon. And then one of my other big secret weapons is every Sunday, I do a success planning session with myself before the week starts. So I review the last week, sort of see what got done, what didn't get done. I game plan for the week. I get my schedule together, and that really helps me to go into the week with focus and intention. And even with all of that, life still happens. So even during all of that, it's it's the purposeful pause. It's learning that breaks are okay. So if I'm feeling like my brain is racing, I will stop and I will go and get some fresh air, go for a walk. Learning that, it's not about the hustle, it's not about the grind, working 8 hours straight. Our brains are actually not operated to do that. So I think another thing that helps getting me grounded is bringing in purposeful breaks, stepping away, having, one weekend a month where it's a down weekend, and understanding that I do all of those things because that's what allows me to be my best for those that I serve.
I love that. And I love that you do the success planning on Sundays. That's one of my favorite things to do.
I know
And when I miss it, I really miss it. It's
it
like
is.
my week is off if I don't do that.
Mhm.
It's become such a great habit to
Well,
get
and going
into.
back to what I initially said of loving Mondays, I look at my week and I say, "Ah, look at all the things I have going on. Look at all the people I get to connect with. Look what I get to do. It's like I love what I do. And when I can look at it and be like, look at this. It's cool. I'm excited because it's an honor to do what I do. It's a privilege to do. It's exciting to do what I do. I have an amazing career. So why wouldn't I be excited? So doing that and laying it all out, it just kind of starts the whole thing.
I love that. I really appreciate you saying about I love what I do. It's something we're going to continue that conversation on.
Oh,
But
good.
first, I want to share if today's conversation got you thinking about your brand, your message, or how you're showing up in the world, come check out the Brand Success Hub. It's my on-demand resource center packed with tools, trainings, and templates to help you get clear, consistent, and confident in your brand. And today, Clara has agreed that she's actually going to include one of her 10-minute teaches with the brand success community. So come on over, check out the Brand Success Hub, click on 30secondsuccess.com, and we'll see you on the inside. So, Clara, speaking about loving what you do, what's some advice you would give someone facing a moment of indecision or a moment of recognition around the fact that they may not be happy doing what they're doing?
Yeah. Well, I think first of all, we need to kind of separate because sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes it's about putting food on the table and you don't have the luxury of jumping ship and just going after your passion project. But can you do it on a small scale? So, for example, if I love writing, well, maybe I cannot leave my job, but can I write a blog? Can I, do an article? There's so many magazines out there looking for content. So again, can you just do a little bit of it so you can start to work that? Again, if you're a passion and you're being called to bake, maybe you can bake something for a local charity. So there's always small ways to wean into it. And that's sort of how I started. When I was managing, didn't really like the managing part of it. What I loved was the coaching. I loved working with people and teaching them to create a champion mindset. And I was working with a lot of entrepreneurs, independent contractors. So teaching them to think more like a business owner and not an independent contractor. So I started doing that sort of in between those. And then I would make a little money on the side and I would tuck it away so that I had 6 months of savings so I could take the leap to do that. I will say, and this is something that has always been a challenge for me, it still is listening to your intuition. Your inner
Mm.
voice, it knows what you're supposed to be doing. And I don't listen to mine because I tend to be too factual and I probably need to listen to mine more. But I will tell you, when I was young, I knew this is what I needed to do, but I didn't understand how to do it. And I was scared and it didn't seem safe. So I went the safe route. And I think of all the years of opportunities that I've missed by doing this because I knew innately, I knew I was meant to do something to change the world. I knew I was meant to be on stage, but I didn't want to be an actress or like I didn't know what it meant. And then I went through a health issue. I went through a sickness when I was a teenager, and I started seeing the lack of communication and connection between the medical field and human field and how they didn't know how to talk to their patients. And I was like, I really would love to go into corporations and teach them how to better communicate and do these things. And everyone's like, oh, that doesn't exist. No one's ever going to pay you to do something like that. And I didn't have the courage and the bravery, and I didn't feel worthy of myself to investigate it more. And it was industrial psychology, now called organizational, all of that, organizational psychology and all of that. So I didn't do it. And I think again, listening, you know when it's time. So I would say lay it out, get a plan. You need a plan, but you also need to fuel that plan. So you're going to have to find a way to feed that plan and to fund that dream until you can get there to make the leap.
I love that. And I think that's great advice, especially for our young people out there that feel a calling and they're just not sure how to pursue it.
Yeah.
And, so thinking about it from that perspective, and I'm sure you've run into this, especially when you're working in the corporate environment. How many young people do you get a sense from that may feel stuck? And what kind of advice would you give them when you see them struggling to really go after what they want?
Um, you know, I, Sometimes the mom in me comes out because I have a 20-year-old son now and he is doing this. And I'm very academic. I would be a professional student for the rest of my life. My little cherub is not quite the academic that his mother is, and he didn't want to go to college and he was really nervous. He felt like a failure because it wasn't working. He's an entrepreneur. And it's that dichotomy, but at the end of the day, life is too short to hate your days. Life is too
Mm,
short. So again, going back to you've got to have some joy in your life. So, he's 20. I'm like, this is the time you're supposed to get out there. So I
mhm.
kind of did the same thing. I said, listen, you want to start your own business. It's a faith-based clothing line. And I said, go and get this together. And so I've been coaching him through that. He has his own coach and mentor, but he's also 20 years old. So he's got to pay the bills. So he has a part-time job and it's not his forever job. So I said, find something that at least you can laugh at, you can make friends at, something that's going to get you out of the house and allow you to make some money while you are building your forever dream. And, I think it's for anyone, whether you're 20 years old, 40 years old, 80 years old, the drudgery of the day, it will eat you alive. So even if, again, you're not in a financial position to leave, you got to find a way to bring some joy in, and you've got to find a small window, a small way to live your passion.
Beautiful. I love that. And I think that's so important for young people to grasp that you can live your passion, but you
Yeah.
have to figure out how to fuel it.
Just don't be in,
Yeah.
like, I just see, and this was my own fault. I was in such a hurry to be an adult. I could be in the overachiever. Like, I couldn't wait to go to college. I couldn't wait to get my first job. I couldn't wait to all of those. Don't be in such a rush. Take your
Mm.
time,
Yeah.
listen, get the job, but you know what? Travel,
Mm.
travel, see the world, because even though I love the classroom, you will learn so much more outside of the classroom. So it's a mix. Get yourself the education both inside and in the real world, and live your life.
Mm. Yeah. Enjoy it. So, what's lighting you up right now in your work, in your life, in your faith? Is there something fun that project that you have going on personally or
Oh my God.
professionally?
Well, I always have lots of projects going on. So one, I am doing a lot of contributor work for global news outlets. So, getting a little bit more visibility there and sharing the messages of being more human, sharing the messages of being clear and intentional. I'm doing a lot of talks right now on how to lead the different generations, because we're in a world where all the generations are in there working side by side. So how can we guide them and lead them? I am working on my fourth book, so hopefully that'll be coming out in 26, 27. Doing my show, Clarity in Action, and taking that to more of a streaming TV platform. And then just, yeah, traveling, doing other speaking engagements. It's good. It's a good life.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You've got a lot going on. I'm excited to hear more about
Yeah.
it. But we are almost out of time. So, what's the best way for people to connect with you and go deeper into your work?
Fantastic. So I would say the two places are LinkedIn. I'm all over social media, but probably LinkedIn and Instagram are my two biggest platforms. And then my website, which is just claracapano.com.
Beautiful. So, before we go, what final thought or encouragement would you like to leave our listeners with today?
You have everything inside of you that you need to be successful. Trust yourself, invest in yourself energetically, financially, and just go out there and make your mark in the world.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us on the 30-Second Success Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss next week's inspiring conversation. Until then, stand in your brand, trust your voice, and remember, success is just 30 seconds away.